What's up, everybody? Tom Pelissero here with Judd Zulgad at Winter Park on Wednesday. And Judd, the wheels continue to turn on Percy Harvin at this point. We're 4.5 weeks out from his injury at Seattle on November 4th. As I reported yesterday, the Vikings had diagnosed as a grade 3 sprain, meaning a full ligament tear, which can take 4 to 6 weeks to completely heal, but you can play with it before it's completely healed. 3 weeks was what they were hoping on the timeline. Right. Now we're 4.5 weeks out, and all of a sudden you heard a switch in the way that Leslie Frazier's talking about this today, saying there's things we've got to work out, that we'll see how things play out. That, to me, as I walked out there, I said, it sounds like how he addressed the Bernard Berrian situation last year. Not that I think Percy Harvin's about to get cut, but clearly there's something going on, whether they're evaluating for surgery or whether there's other things happening that we're not still privy to.
Well, and plus, if you recall, Tom, he gets hurt, November 4th at Seattle, right? He misses a couple games, and then the Vikings' hope is that he could come back after the bye. Realistically, that was never going to be the case, and the Vikings likely knew that. This might be a situation where they were just sort of holding out hope Percy could come back, but we are so late now. If there's any fear he could do further damage, surgery is going to make the most sense. The weird thing here is it's Percy Harvin. Everything with Percy Harvin, medically, off the field, whatever, doesn't it seem to turn into an ordeal? Doesn't it seem, whether it was the migraines back when Childress was here, whatever happens to Percy always seems to start off with, we hope he'll be back at such and such a time, and then it escalates. I mean, remember, this is the guy whose grandma died. He left training camp in Mankato, and he never practiced again in Mankato that year. There always seems to be some weird soap opera scenario that surrounds Percy Harvin when something does happen to him.
Well, and he's a very good football player. But when I was asking somebody back after he had the blow-up against Frazier at the Seattle game, and he had that entire thing happen on the sideline, I said to somebody, is the anger, is that a concern to you? I know you like that, a little bit of that. You want a guy who cares, but does that concern you? And what I was told was, Percy's angry about a lot of things. Percy's angry if he doesn't get a kick return. There's a lot of things that make him mad. And if he's not making the progress, as much as some of that may be internal blame, and he's wondering why his body isn't responding the way he hoped it would, there's still probably going to be some more frustration, some more things in terms of the management of the player you might have to deal with other guys. But let's not forget, he's made very clear he expects a new contract after the season to wipe out the last year of his rookie deal. As I've written many times, there's a lot of things that go in with Percy Harvin. That stuff's not going to change, so you're probably going to want to tie up a lot of stuff, whether it's performance-based, playing time-based, whatever, in that next contract. But if you're the Vikings, this is one more thing you can point to and say, this may be a guy based on his reckless style and the way that he reacts when he has certain things. He's played through a lot of injuries, but there's still a maintenance level, and you wonder, is he going to age more quickly than some other guys?
And he will. I mean, we've talked about this when Percy's been healthy. If you watch him play the game of football, we've talked about this forever. He plays with a style where he doesn't care about his body.
Right.
But the problem there is when they try and manage him, he gets mad. The kickoff returns last year is a perfect example of who Percy Harvin is. Percy Harvin legitimately got upset that they wouldn't let him return kicks. But kickoff returns are highly violent, and Percy doesn't care. He encourages that type of violence. With his size, as tough as he is, as reckless as he plays, you have to be concerned about his contract. And that's the issue here. It's not the upfront money that you give him right away. It's how much money do you give him over an extended period. Because let's be honest, Percy Harvin plays wide receiver. Adrian Peterson plays running back. Adrian Peterson has already torn up his knee. But if I was to ask you the question right now, who will play more years in the National Football League, I think you would probably say Peterson. Percy plays that reckless a style. There's a lot of things that have to go into this decision, including the fact that Percy, A, doesn't really trust people, which is very true. B, Percy is mad a lot of the time. And he's unpredictable. Sometimes, because what do we hear sometimes? Percy's been a good soldier so far. But we are always waiting, and it always happens. The other shoe drops with Percy Harvin. It always happens.
Let's talk about Sunday's game, which at this point, I don't think there's a ton of reason to be encouraged that Percy Harvin is going to be out there. There's no line on this game. I saw one line that came out as the Bears as 3-point favorites. I think the Vikings win the game. And I'm basing that on a variety of different things. I think if you take away the things that went wrong in Chicago, and granted, you can't just wipe all that away, but you drop 6 passes. Adrian Peterson coughs up the football. You have 3 turnovers in that game. I don't know that we ever got to see whether or not the Vikings had a game plan to win that game because they got in a situation they didn't want to be in because they coughed up the football. In Green Bay, I feel strongly they had a plan to win. They were set up, and they were winning the game 14-10 before Christian Ponder commits 2 of the worst turnovers you're going to see in the NFL based on the spot on the field, based on the situation in the game and everything else. Their plan coming in was, don't turn over the football, and we can win this game. What do? They turn over the football. The entire game changes. I think they come out against Chicago on Sunday knowing their season's on the line, and I think they beat the Bears.
Really? Can't predict. I can't go that.
Good reaction.
I can't say that because Christian Ponder, here's the thing. Ponder plays against Detroit, okay? Detroit's sort of a mess this year. Ponder plays a good enough game in the Metrodome where people don't turn on him that they win the game. Chicago still got a good defense, and Christian Ponder right now is a complete and utter mental mess. If I had any faith in Ponder, then I see where you're going with this. Right now, I have no faith in Christian Ponder. You're right. 2 interceptions he threw in Green Bay were just awful. His confidence is going down, 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 just like it did last season. Right now, there's no reason to have faith in Christian Ponder. I think the biggest question, and this is the first time this year that I brought this up, but I think it's a legitimate question, given the message that we got on Monday from Les Frazier is, if Christian Ponder struggles like he did against the Packers, 5 completions through 3 quarters into the 4th quarter, does Christian Ponder finish this football game? My gut feeling is yes, but this is the first time I've even asked that question all season long.
No, and I think that's the first time to really address it fairly, and part of that has to do with Leslie Frazier changing what he said on Monday from what he has said in the past. And as much as Frazier today said that I can make the decisions on game day, I can make a change if I want to, he can if they've discussed it and if everyone knows what's going on. If this has not come up, and if he'd been told from the top, from Rick Spielman or whoever, that, hey, we're not taking Christian Ponder out, then it's not Leslie Frazier's decision. The quarterback position is different than any other, but you're right, Ponder has to improve. I just look at this, Judd. Look at where the most encouraging signs in Christian Ponder's career have been, or even this season. You have the comeback against Jacksonville. You have the San Francisco game. Those are probably the 2 best. He's played far better. If you look at the numbers, he's played far better at home than he has on the road. The turnovers are a big concern, but this was also the first time against Green Bay, I think, where those turnovers came in a spot where it really cost the Vikings the game. They overcame some turnovers against Tennessee, and at other times, I think that
bad team.
At other times, I think that he's committing the turnovers, such as in the Washington game. He commits that pick 6 in part because of what's going on in the game. They're trying to come back, and he's got to throw the football. This is the first time they were in control of the game, and he cost them the game. If they can get him back to playing the right way, I still think Ponder is able to at least come up with a competent performance.
But how do you get him back to playing the right way? Because everything we see from Ponder, the thing that concerns me about Ponder, and we both said all season long, and I'll stick to saying this, I don't put this all on Ponder. This is not all Ponder's fault.
It was in the Green Bay game.
But here's the problem. The mistakes keep repeating themselves.
But are they the same mistakes?
A lot of them are, yeah. The mechanics aren't improving.
Yeah.
The mental toughness is definitely not there. Okay, prime example. 3rd quarter interception, they're up 14-10, right? He's trying to throw to Michael Jenkins in the end zone. Now, I think the interception on the pass for Rudolph was actually worse. But the interception in the end zone for Jenkins is Ponder overthinking things. He's thinking back to the Chicago game when he overthrew Michael Jenkins in the end zone. So he's rolling out and he's thinking, I can't do that again.
But you don't do that on 2nd down.
No, I know.
He's thinking 4th down.
No, but what I'm thinking, but what he's thinking is, I got to make this pass the right way this time.
Right.
What I'm saying is, for whatever reason, mentally, what he's going through right now, he's not playing football. Everything he's doing, he has the football equivalent of the yips. Everything is, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about it, and he thinks himself it is struggling.
Okay, well then what happened against Detroit 3 weeks ago? Because I'd say that he came out and the yips were gone. A lot of it is dictated by game flow. Again, this is the first time. The Green Bay game was the most concerning by far to me because it was the first time he didn't have to overthink it because there was no pressure on him. It's 1st down on one of those throws. It's 2nd down on the other throw.
He's still overthinking it.
And you still make a huge mistake. I think that he can play better, but I also think that's not the number one thing here. I think that they can come out and continue to have the same mentality they did in terms of let's generate an early turnover against Chicago. Let's rip the ball out on these guys. Let's take it to them physically. Have the correct approach.
Yeah.
I think that they win the game. That's all I can say. I don't know how they do it. I don't think Christian Ponder wins the game on his own, but I think the way Adrian Peterson's going right now.
Yep.
And I think we have seen some positive signs from the defense. They still got to stop the run better. They still got to rush the passer better. I think it can happen, though, in the Metrodome.
Here's what I'm curious about. What we saw in the locker room on Sunday in Green Bay was an interesting dynamic to me. You got the defense here, the offense here. The receivers were very down. Adrian Peterson was very down. The defense has started to get that mentality, which is, we did our job.
And it was
that's
no mistake that there were some guys walking around and telling some of those guys, hey, go over and say something to Christian Ponder because that guy's going to be starting this week. He's Judd. I'm Tom. Full Vikings coverage at 1500ESPN.com. We'll see you.